had a family member who continued to attract narcissistic and toxic partners. And I remember this last time when she got out of a relationship, a lot of certain family members were asking her, why did she stay so long? And that was really hurtful to her because it shifts blame. It feels like they're blaming you for the abuse that you endured. And to an extent, we all have a responsibility for our own experiences, but people who love you show compassion and empathy for you. They don't shame you and condemn you, especially when you're at your lowest, especially when you're sick, or especially when you are coming out of a toxic experience. That's already traumatizing within itself. And if we look at the way this adult child grew up, one of the stories she had told me was that one time she was getting ready to go to school. As she was walking out to go to school, her adult brother grabbed her by her hair and drug her backwards on a public sidewalk. And her parent was home, and no one did anything to protect her. The police wasn't called. No one, said anything to the brother, to her knowledge, because she went on to school, had her day at school, came home. No one set her down and said, what happened to you was disrespectful and it will never happen again. And after her adult brother drug her down the street, do you know that brother still came around? Still would sit down at the table and everything for quite some time. So what was the message that was being sent to that child? That abuse is more important than her safety. You see what I'm saying? And we're showing that child to be loyal, because that's why that brother continued to come around, because you're showing loyalty. We're disguising love as loyalty. We're disguising abuse as love. And so that is a cognitive dissonance. That creates an issue for that child, because that child doesn't understand her value and her worth, because the people who are supposed to be protecting her, like her parents, aren't showing it to her. So if your own parents don't protect you, because we protect what we love. If we don't love something, we're not going to protect it. So, and that child feels that. Children aren't stupid. What we don't confront, we silently condone. So what was the message being sent to that child? That it's okay that she was physically abused. Because I was her brother, a grown-ass man, that it's okay for her, for her to be upset and be traumatized and to still go on to school. Maybe that's why when she's in an abusive relationship with a man who puts his hands on her, she just goes on to work like nothing happened. She doesn't call the police. No one called the police for her when she was a child. No one outed this person, So why should I out my boyfriend? Why should I out my husband when they do it to me? No one taught me that I should value myself. No one taught me that I should love myself. This is what happens when we condone abuse. And so when that child grows up to have adult relationships, her adult relationships mirror the relationships that she had in childhood, because those were the first relationships she ever had. We're teaching our children how to have relationships when we interact with people, such as our partners, our spouses, or community, our family members. So when you're dishonest, when you're sleeping around, you're showing your child that being dishonest and sleeping around is okay. This is how you be a woman. And when you allow abuse, you're also teaching your child to normalize abuse. So when they grow up and have abusive relationships, it doesn't seem like abuse. It doesn't register that this is wrong, because they've always been around it and it's familiar. It's normal. Why would I leave? This is what I'm used to. You never protected me. You never set a boundary. As parents, you teach your children boundaries by what you allow in your household and what you don't allow in your household. So there was never a boundary there. And so what was the message that you were sending to that child? That you don't need protection from abuse, because that's your brother. And guess what? That's just her boyfriend. That's just her husband. It's just a different bodysuit, but it's the same spirit. And that's what's so sad. But because no one ever set that little girl down and let her know that she was valuable and that she deserved protection, she might not ever know until she actually does the self-healing work and the self-reflection and says to herself, those things that I learned as a child, I don't have to keep recreating as an adult. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to end that cycle of abuse, because it ends with me.